I head the sales and marketing for MBA&Beyond. And tonight, I want to thank all of you for joining us. And I have the pleasure of, having Akansha and Kui here with us. And our topic for today is very simple. It's navigating low GMAT and GPA in your MBA applications. And I think this is something a lot of people relate to, right? A lot of people have their own concerns, their own myths around this, and we wanted to maybe take a fresh perspective on this, or maybe reiterate some of the things which has already been spoken about. Uh, and I want to welcome both of you, Koi and Akansha. Welcome to the session. And we're going to follow a very simple format. We're going to we have collected few questions with regards to these topics, and we're going to try and start with them. Just taking your inputs on how your journey has been, and after that, we'll open the session for our audience to ask any questions that they think can help them get more clarity. All right. So without further ado, Akansha, I would invite you to share a few things about yourself, your journey so far, and how you placed it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashwini, and thank you, MBA&Beyond, for having me. And this topic that we're discussing is very personal to me because I have been on the other side where I had my low GRE score, and I was not very sure of whether I should be applying this year or next year. So again, thank you so much for having me. And so as I start, I am a software engineer at JP Morgan. I have around 6 years of experience, and I've worked for the entirety of my career in fintech. And my post MBA goal is also to be in tech, specifically to be in tech, to be a tech PM. So yeah, this is what my plan is. And I have a GRE score of around 316. When I reached out to a lot of consultants, and when I said that this is my score, everybody said that you should not even aim for T15. And right now I'm very glad that I joined MBA&Beyond because it helped me achieve an admit from Darden, and it has been one of my dream schools. So yeah, really happy about it.
Congratulations, Akansha.
Thank you so much, Ashwini.
Kui, may I request you to share a few words and your story with our audience today?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Kui. I was born in China and went to US 10 years ago for undergrad. I am currently a second-year student at Dartmouth Tug. Before Tug, I was in biotech and pharma in R&D, project management, as well as business development. This past summer, I was in consulting internship. I also started working for life sciences VC firms starting this May, and I'm still working for them part-time, 20 to 30 hours a week. And I am also a profile expert at MBA&Beyond. Starting from last year, I have spoken with maybe 30 to 40 of candidates, and then have some thoughts on the profile, something. And then I think Akansha's story really resonates what I am thinking. You don't really want any of the factors to deter you from doing what you want to do. I think you never see a perfect place to actually you never feel like perfectly ready, right? It's life. You will never be perfectly ready, and whatever the outcomes be, whatever you learn will be very valuable. Even if you don't get any offers, whatever you learn will be very valuable. So those are my initial thoughts, but I will give it back to uh, our host.
All right, thank you, Koi. I think that's a very important takeaway. In the process, you learn something and you take something with you. And yeah, I think instead of looking at perfection, always look at improving further. So on that note, I'll open with both of you, right? I think something which was also going on in my mind, and probably our audience would also like to understand, why did you pick TAC and Darden respectively as your school of choice for MBA? I am sure there has been a long list of schools that you must have gone through, because school selection is something which every applicant wants to spend time on, is very focused on. So what were your factors? How did you go through this school selection?
Yeah, so I'll take this. For me, I was very sure that I wanted. So in my career, I have been somebody who has learned by doing things rather than a classroom setting. So immediately, the two programs that come to my mind are Harvard Business School and Darden, because they both extensively use the case method. So I just picked Darden because it was fitting the bill of how I learn, how my learning journey has been. Secondly, I connected to a lot of alumni over LinkedIn. There were a lot of cold emails, and I found Darden's community very warm and very welcoming. Even though I was just a prospective student, people helped me out. They went beyond their way, in fact, to help me, to guide me, to, if I had any questions, they would, they even shared their personal anecdotes, or they provided me with resources of how I can handle certain challenges that I have. So these two key points stood out a lot to me, the community and the case method. So that is why I chose Darden. Yeah, over to you, Kui.
Yeah, my answer, the first half of my answer will disappoint everyone, but I promise the second half will not. The first half, I chose Dharma's because I am kind of a little bit different from probably most of audience here. I have been in US. I have a family here. My wife and I live in Massachusetts, northern suburb of Boston. So I'm currently in my house. So and then I am in biotech and pharma. So you might know Boston is the center of the whole industry. So I never plan to leave Boston. So before I apply, I just went to Google Map. I see which school is closer to Boston. So I applied to three schools: MIT, Harvard, and Dartmouth. And I only got into Dartmouth. So that's the actually the real reason I went to Dartmouth. As you know, Dartmouth is definitely less reputable or well known than Harvard and MIT, especially internationally. So I also didn't visit school before I went to the school. Like I don't, because it's 1 hour and a half drive if you speed. If you don't speed, it's 2 hours drive. So I don't want to do that. But I definitely do not regret, especially now I am working with for a VC firm. So I think for me, I have all the biotech pharma connections in Boston from my previous work as well as current work. So I don't really think not going to MIT or Harvard hurts my career at all. And Dartmouth is a very, very special place because they own most of people do not want to go to middle of nowhere. So that kind of cultural sense of belonging in a community, and that's real. And also I want to resonate with Akanksha, what she mentioned. Um, the feeling or the sense of a community is actually very important for the school selections or your networking steps, even before you apply. You want to actually speak with the people here. You want to see whether you want to speak with these people, whether you want to spend 2 years with them. And that actually goes beyond your MBA. This is actually what the MBA and beyond, right? Because after you graduate, you are still part of this community, and you will be part of this community for the rest of your life. And then you'll be interacting mostly with your alumni for whatever you are doing for your job, for etc. So you want to make sure those are the places that you really like. Now going to the second part of my conversation, as most of us are international students, probably haven't been in the US, haven't. I really think we should reach out to as many people as possible, especially current students or alumni. There is no hurt. It's very, very less likely. It's unlikely for them to speak with you and email their admission committee, hey, I spoke with Quay, I think he sucks. It's not very possible. It's also equally less possible for them to just email admission committee, hey, I think this guy very, very good, but there is a higher chance. And the second, I want you to think about where do you want to live and where do you want to have your job. I would say mostly, I think if you want to get close to the big cities, like most of the Asian folks, we like staying in big city because they're only big cities in Asia. And then we feel like just go to the big city and you feel the US in a very different way. If you go to Dartmouth, it's very, very different world. It's kind of like a bubble. So thinking about the school is very, very personal, but it takes time for you to develop. Yeah.
Thank you, Akasha and Gui. I totally align 100% with you guys on talking to people from those school and understanding if your values really match where you want to go, right? Because a lot of times there is this image in our head, and that's what we chase a lot of time. But when we talk to people, I think we get a lot of clarity, and I think that alignment is really helpful because you want to spend a lot of time on the campus and with these people, and it's going to be a great journey. So it's better to spend it with people you really align with and want to spend some time with. All right. So, did you always know, and I think this question is for both of you, did you always know that you wanted to do an MBA, or was there a phase in your life which really called out for, MBA at this point of time? So for a lot of people, they have this clarity, like from the very beginning, and for a lot of people, it happens, right, because of a certain event in their life. So how was the story for you, Akansha or Kui?
So for me, actually, since I'm a software engineer, I was pretty set on doing an MS, and I was like, okay, I'll be a technical person throughout my career. But in my previous firm, I was with Morgan Stanley, and the team I was part of was fairly new. Like I was the second oldest member, and just being 3 years with 3 years of experience. So I was pushed into a lot of managerial roles. Like I was supposed to take part in recruitment, and I also got to see about the other side of the business, like how discussing with the stakeholders, interacting with clients. And even though I was a technical person, I really liked that aspect as well, and I felt that to be a well-rounded individual, it won't hurt to get to know about the other side, even if in the long run, if I want to start my own business, or if I want to maybe stay in technical as well, it doesn't hurt to know to be a well-rounded individual. And that was one major event in my life that made me think that okay, MBA should be my next step. And doing some research and talking to people who have pursued MBA in US, so it felt that it is quite aligned with what I was thinking, and that's how I came to decide that yeah, MBA is the next step for me.
Makes sense, Akasha. Thank you for sharing that. Kui, do you have any experiences around this?
So for me, so as like most of you guys are, I was an international student in the US, and I honestly didn't know what I want to do when I graduated. So I spent 3 years college in the US, and I don't really know what I was doing. I think I drank with Chinese students, that's it. And I drank a lot of alcohol. So when I graduated, I don't know. So I started very humble work in Boston Biotech, and I started realizing that in the US, or probably most of the time in the world, you either need some more degrees or you are super crazy connected. And I'm definitely not the second half, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure in India, we also have some people like they know the sound of it also happens in the US, happening in China, but I am not part of this person, this cycle. So I think, well, maybe I need to go to MBA, and MBA in biotech, and even in the tech, is not something that people will think, oh, you are super smart, and then we're going to hire you. Because in the biotech or tech world, they kind of focus more on like science or technical field. So MBA is kind of a soft things. It's not something. In other words, people can do whatever MBA graduates can do, but people cannot do whatever MD graduates or PhD graduates can do. However, the real value of MBA comes from these 2 years of training in the business. You'll be able to communicate more effectively. You will actually grasp the very complicated business ideas in a more simple way and communicate to a broader audience. So those are the skills that you might be developing in an MBA if you don't drink with Chinese students. And then I kind of realized that before MBA, and I really think I made the right decision, even though I pay tons of money. And so yeah, and I'm probably going to keep doing business development for biotech. And as you know, I'm also working for a VC firm doing life sciences investment. Everything I learned are super, super helpful. So I think you guys make the right decision. You just have to persuade yourself or your parents. Like I persuaded my parents.
Thanks, Koi. I think I just want to let our audience know that you can share any questions that you have, which you would like to ask Koi or Akansha, or in general, and we would take it up in few minutes. So please feel free to post your comments in the post your questions in the comments, or we will invite you to be on camera and share your questions directly. So either way it works. But yeah, go ahead, share your questions or any queries, anything in mind. All right. So with your background, or with your intentions becoming more clear, right? What was the most thrilling or most difficult part in your application journey, right? Because depending on how prepared you were, it could be difficult for people, it could be easier, right? I have seen a lot of people reacting to it pretty normally, and for a lot of people, it can take a lot of time and a lot of energy, right? So, for both of you, how was the journey? Which was the most difficult part which you felt in your MBA application? Was it essay? Was it diving deep in your profile? Was it something else?
Actually, to stay organized for me, like I had so many ideas. My mind was buzzing with, I could do this, I should do this. I could not even to just stay organized during the entire process because it's very nerve-wracking. But again, I would say that everybody should at least prepare for an MBA application, is because it's a very introspective process as well. Because never in our lives we sit down and think about, okay, till this point, what have I done, what have I achieved. So this something, process of introspecting and thinking, okay, this is the something that I've done which I should be proud of. Okay, this was the mistake that I made, but okay, I came around this is how I overcame it. So this thing also led me to spiral a bit, because I was all over the place doing that introspection bit. But yeah, so I had so many ideas. So what here that MBA&Beyond helped me with this, because they I had so many thoughts. So MBA&Beyond, the consultant that I had, he helped me to dig for gold, because people don't usually realize that their lives, everybody has certain key moments, everybody has certain failures and successes, but in the rat race that we are running, people don't realize that we to sit and to think, okay, yeah, this is something that I can talk about in my application. So these things were the, as I said, like to stay organized and to dig for gold in my life, what the journey that I had gone through. So that is something that I was struggling with, and that is something that my consultant helped me a lot. That and being a working professional, it's very hard. People don't realize this, but preparing for a standardized test, like we have been away from our classroom settings for more than at least 5 years on an average. So preparing for that, working 40, 50 hours a week, that also was something that was very challenging. So yeah, these two aspects for me was very, like, it was a very love-hate relationship for me, because I also enjoyed, because I haven't had the time to sit down and think about my life, but it was also very nerve-wracking. Okay, what should I do? What should I do? So yeah, these two aspects.
Understandable. Thank you, Akansha. Do you have a take on this?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's the challenging thing is I think I was on everyone's shoes 2 years ago. I don't know why do I need MBA, why their tuition is so crazily expensive, and what I am going to do with MBA is really a process of figuring out gradually. You will never know what you want to do before you go to MBA, and these 2 years you will gradually figure out. However, for the application processes, like want to have a initial understanding what you want to do, because this is what admission committee want to hear. But they also understand that you are here to also figuring everything out. So you just want to have initial thoughts. So for myself, I think the challenging thing for me is I was in biotech and pharma, I was in R&D, and I was trying to move to more business side. And there is really not a path to that. Nobody will tell you, okay, this is the set path to do that. And that's actually the case for most of your career journeys. You will know everyone has their own path. You have to find your own path, but how, right? I have to talk to a lot of people. I have to learn from them. And a lot of conversations that I have is, what the hell are you talking about? I don't understand the words they're talking about. I want to give you guys one example. I just spoke with a startup founder from Stanford. So he just I think he raised $20 million in his startup. The first time he heard the word PE, private equity, I'm pretty sure most of you guys know this word, he thought it was physical education. So everyone probably have a very humble start. And those process of figuring things out was really my challenge, and it's still challenging right now, like right now. But I would say, so I think, and the MBA application is part of this challenge. I don't know whether that makes sense, but this is what I dealt with and what I am dealing with now.
I think that totally makes sense, because this is a journey. It doesn't stop with completing your MBA application, I believe. It will go through your MBA. It will go even after you complete your MBA. So I think you only keep evolving while going through such tedious process, I would say. But definitely the results are something which you can enjoy at a later stage. All right. Now I think I want to ask you something which probably everyone has, in their mind. Everybody wants to understand, right? What advice would you offer applicants who are targeting top 20 MBA schools, right? But they have a lower GMAT score or a GRE score for that matter. And how would they should approach, right? What should be their mentality? How should they look at this whole journey?
Yeah, so for me, I feel things that worked out well were that I had a pretty strong sense of why I want to do an MBA, what are
Okay.
my short-term goals, what are my long-term goals. So my story was quite cohesive. So what most of the people don't realize is that they think, I mean, especially there's this narrative going around that international candidates, if they don't have stellar GMAT, GPA, GRE, then it doesn't make sense for them to even apply to T15. But that is not the case. In US, especially, education is very they view your application like holistically. That is the buzzword, but they actually do review it holistically, because I mean, we should not just think about it like it's not the end of the world event. It's just a data point. So there are so many components of your application that you could, spin your story around easily. So in my case, it was my work experience. I had a pretty good GPA, but again, as I told, my GRE was very low. So I was very skeptical. So I used my essays as my strength, because I wanted to tell them that, okay, this, even though I have my low GRE, this is not the only thing that defines me. I have had successes in my past. I portrayed them in my essays very. I like promptly. I portrayed myself that, okay, uh, I am a human. I have certain weaknesses. I have certain strengths, but my strength overpower my weakness, and that is something that people need to understand. That even though GMAT GRE is not something that will define your entirety of your application. You can use your essays. You can even let's say that somebody has low GRE, or they have low GPA and they have some backlogs, or KT as they call it in India. So what they can do is they can use that story to say that, okay, I had that, but now I've overcome it. see, like I was there, like look at my starting point and look at the journey that I have, and this is not the end. This is just like, look at where I've reached right now. So when you are able to portray this entire journey properly, I feel that even you can even aim for M7. So okay, I should not be disclosing this, but people even stopped me from, like, you should not. I had applied to Kellogg, Tuck, and Darden, and to be safer, to be on the safer side, I also applied to UNC Kin and Flagler, and I have received interview invites from all of these. Darden, definitely, I got the admit with a scholarship, and I have interviewed with Kellogg as well, which I did not think that was possible, because people were telling me, no, you have no chance because your GRE is so low. So don't let that story be the entirety of your application. You can spin your application story any way you want. Just you need to pick the right stories is what I would say.
I can still see that so much emotion in what is sharing, Akansha, and
Thank you.
I can connect with that. Thank you for sharing that insight. You know, story. Do you have any input on this?
Yeah. So I think one of the we need to realize there is a discrepancy between Asian cultures and the US culture. At least for me, before I was 20 years old, I was only evaluated by test scores, nothing else. You know, everything we went from primary school to middle school to middle school to high school, from high school to college, you only work for a score. That's it.
Right.
That's pathetic, basically. Well, I mean, well, but now in the US, it's really not the case, and people understand that. Especially when you start considering diversity, different backgrounds, different privileges, etc., it's really not the case. So this is the first thing we need to understand. And I had a pretty bad GPA. Like I have a good GMAT. My GMAT is 730, my GRE is 330, but my GPA was pretty bad. My graduating GPA is 3.4, which is not bad. But I have 2 semesters that one semester is 1.9, another semester is 2.6 GMAT on a scale of 4. So this is very, very bad, like GPA. So what I did by myself is I just explained like, hey, I went to US. I was stupid. I didn't study. I drank all the time. I honestly just told them the truth, because I mean I made mistakes. And another thing I think that stood out, especially for Tuck, is after I applied to the school, I got another job. So I just emailed them that, hey, you know what? I got another job. And that job looks fancy, and it's a project manager role. And my starting salary was 120. That was 2 years ago. And then as post like a pre-MBA level. So this is actually pretty decent for the biotech industry. And I actually, when I was calling the admission officer, like, hey, why do you admit me? She said, yeah, we are seeing like a lot of potential from your career. So there are really a lot of ways for you to mitigate that. Even basically the older you are, the grades don't matter less. Yeah, it's really just a part of the score. I mean, but one thing we need to understand is like for the Asian applicants, they usually expect higher scores. So if you have lower scores, you just need to stand out. You just need to stand out. I think Akanksha's story really resonates with me. I think very obvious Akanksha knows what you want. And you will show that. People will feel that, because when I spoke with candidates, some candidates was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how I get there. Wow, they blow my mind away. But there are also some candidates, oh, I'm not sure. Probably I will do consulting. That's not what you want to do, right? And this is not how you stand out. So yeah, this is my thought.
Thank you, Gui. I think Akansha summarized it very well. I'm more than a GMAT school. I think that applies, right? If you just look at it as not a factor which will reduce your chances, but start looking at something which can help you improve your chances. I think that's where uh, great ideas will come from. All right, I have a few questions, from the list that we have received so far, but I think there are a few questions. Let's take up a few questions. So we have Aditya. Aditya, if you're available, I will invite you to maybe be on camera and ask your questions directly to Akansha and Guri.
Yeah, sure. I think thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my question to the team here is, it's a bit dicey when you have a low GMAT and you want to apply for a retake. So my question to you is, would you advise someone to apply for the USB schools in round three, or would you prefer if they wait for another year and apply in round one? I mean, that's again a personal preference, but what would be your advice?
So, okay. I talked to multiple admissions officers, and what they suggest is being an international candidate due to I-20 or I-20 forms and these visa issues. They advise that you should apply as early as possible. But that being said, that does not mean that international candidates do not get accepted in round three. There have been cases where I have talked to people who were an applicant in round three. They got admitted and they are doing very well in their programs. So for you, you need to think what will be the theme of your story. If you think that even despite the low GMAT, there are certain aspects of your application which will make you stand out, as Kui mentioned, you should go ahead with round three. But if you think that your application will be stronger while you are like, if you retake the GMAT and score a higher marks, then you should go for round one, given that your age and everything, because as an international candidate we need to keep these things in mind as well. So yeah, that is what I would advise. Anything that you would like to add, Kui?
No, I think Akansha summarized it very well. But I think basically, if you don't see yourself being like promoted, you don't have to wait for another year. But if you think like the possibility of you being promoted or getting another job, as what I did, but I got lucky, right? How did I know that I'm going to get another job when I was applying? I didn't know. Then you want to apply as soon as possible. And don't think too much about the data, right? Like round one, round three application success rate is lower just because there are more people applying. And it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say because there are a lot of different factors that will influence different rounds dynamic. We can call it round dynamics. It's a word in VC, but I think it also works here. Round dynamic. You don't know. It's very you don't know. Yeah, so don't worry too much about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
I hope that answers your question, Aditya. All the best. All right, I see Sahil has raised his hand. Sahil, if you're available, please go ahead, switch on your camera and share your questions.
Firstly, thank you guys for doing this. Really appreciate your time. Uh, I'll just give a quick intro on myself. So, I applied to a few schools, Target and Safe schools in Urban. I have a GMAT of 770 and a GPA of 2.9. Uh, I didn't get accepted by the schools, and I was doing a ding analysis. Someone said that my low GPA could have filtered me out of the process altogether. Another point I want to add is that the GPA was good for my course, so I got a scholarship as well, and uh, it was the top ranks of the classes, and I mentioned that in the optional essay while I was submitting the application. I want to understand going forward in R2, what should I act something about? Should I act on this, or is the approach I'm following right now is okay?
Yeah, so I think the use of optional essay that you mentioned is really good because that is the place where you explain your circumstances. That being said, optional essay, while you are writing your, situation that you're explaining the GPA and everything, you should also mention the like what was the top GPA, because as you mentioned, it was a good GPA for your program and you got a scholarship. So you should also make it more quantitative, as in like you were the like you got this and that this was the highest that was present in the batch. Maybe that would kind of add more perspective while adcoms are reviewing your application. Also, your 770 GMAT definitely should offset it. I think what you need to do is change your strategy and maybe revisit what are the key stories of your essays. Maybe that could help. And I would advise that, if you could get a profile analysis done with MBA&Beyond, because personally for me, what happened was that and I'm being very honest, I spoke to maybe 10 10 consultants, and the I used to go for a profile evaluation call, and what used to happen was they started their marketing pitch. But for MBA and Beyond, that did not happen. I still remember my call very well. They actually did for around 30 to 45 minutes, and we just discussed my profile, what are my key strengths, and I could sense the difference between, others and MBA and Beyond. So if you feel that you could maybe like benefit from reviewing what your strategy is, I would say that you should do that and then reconfigure yourself for R2, because the deadlines are almost here. So that is what I would advise.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add here. I think I can answer very well.
Yeah, thank you, Akash. I'm already working on recalibrating my strategies around the essays.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sahil. I hope it helps.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our next question from Nav NAV. If you're available, I would invite you to ask a question.
Thank you for being here. My question is that I have over 5 years of experience also in pharma, and I am right now an associate business development manager. I also have I started 2 of my own businesses, both are profitable. My problem comes with my GPA. It's quite low. It's significantly low, and I have a lot of backlogs because I was pursuing like a full-time job while I was doing a full-time degree. I've not yet given my GMAT. The GPA is so low that I keep wondering whether I should even apply to top colleges. So even like I hear you when you say that it doesn't define the whole profile, but it's like a 3rd degree honors, so it calculates to around 2.3 with a lot of backlogs. So what are your advice on that?
So, okay, given the details that I know about you, what I would suggest is make that as your USP, because having multiple backlogs, that could be your success story. Like you overcame that, now you're doing very well in your career, you have 2 businesses that are running very well. So the narrative should be somewhere around that you started with maybe a low GPA, but you pivoted very well. You're like, as I tell that, GPA and GRE and the test scores, these are just a data point. I would not say that, these are not defining. You should first believe it in yourself that, okay, if whatever happened in the past, be honest with yourself, whatever was the reason, explain how you tackled it. And now that 5 years out of the school, you are doing so well that GPA was just a phase. So that is something that you could strategize around that, and your essay could maybe bring that as a very, like it could be your USP, is what I feel. Given that the details that I know about you, if I mean, definitely a stronger, I mean, a more detailed analysis would bring out more key features about your profile. But this is what I feel. What about you, Kui?
If I don't know whether I got it wrong, did you work in pharma BD and have 2 startup that profitable?
Yes. So I currently work for generics pharma. That is, I don't know if you know this, but this is a more Indian concept, generic division. And there I am working for strategy and business development. And I have 2 businesses that are not at all related to pharma. One is sort of like a fair play pay platform for artists. And then that is more into licensing and merchandising. And then the other one is in consultancy. So both are doing well, both are profitable. That also, like, it sounds nice, the 2 businesses, but that while I'm working on my MBA application, I'm finding that there's no collinearity to my application because everything's so different. So that also, yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think actually having 2 businesses that are profitable are very, very impressive. I mean, I cannot do it by myself. It's actually very impressive. I agree with you. You might think that there is no collinearity, of course, because what they're doing have no correlation with pharma. However, you can really talk about that in your essays, like this is what you're passionate about. And actually, I don't know whether you guys know, the CEO of Goldman Sachs is also a DJ. And he performs regularly in New York City. And he just quit this DJ career because people criticize him by being a DJ while raising money. So what I want to tell you is it's really not that unusual for you to have your own business, like side gigs, while you are doing whatever you should be doing. So don't think that it's like really like diverted from your career path. I think what you want to work on is in your application, you want to bring this gap, right? You have your full-time job, you also have something that you want to do, and then there are a lot of ways for you to paying that. You can say, oh, I want to keep doing this business while I'm in school. I want to do similar business when I graduate. And actually, it will make you actually very interesting. One of my friend went to same college as me. He interviewed at Tag, and he told them that he wants to do a tech startup. And you know what? At Tag, tech startup sucks. Like nobody is doing tech startup at Tag. And then they actually wanted to interview him for the second time because I think they want to give him an offer, but they don't think that Tag is a good fit. So they kind of want to talk to him. So there are a lot of ways to actually make you super unique. And I think you do have some unique background. As for your GPA, GMAT, I think they are less important, to be honest. We usually think, oh, we didn't get the offer or we didn't get an interview because of my GMAT or GRE. I think usually sometimes there are other reasons. But of course, we don't really know for sure. They will not tell you how they actually think. So this is just my thought. Is it helpful?
Yeah, it is. It is. If nothing else, it gave me a certain confidence to at least apply, which was something I was dwindling on.
It's not easy to have profitable business. It's not easy. It's really like I
That's
cannot do it.
true. That is true. However, it's just like my GPA. Being Asian, I think you would also understand that it keeps us up all night. It really does. It makes me lose sleep over it. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for your advice. It's very kind.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Just remember the CEO of the Goldman Sachs is also a DJ, and you can also check his out.
That really did it. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you.
Thank you, Akansha. Thank you, Kuwait. Thank you, Nav. And I would suggest if you haven't taken a profile evaluation with MBA and Beyond already, you do that. You can even respond to my email, which you will receive at the end of the session. And you can just respond. I can set up a meeting with Kui. He can, if he's available, he can also probably help you have a better discussion and insights into this. All right. So we have the next question from Srini. Srini, if you're available, I would invite you to ask your question directly to Kui and Akansha.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm Srinivas. I'm currently working as a business analytics professional. But my question is that, so I have a similar question. Like I think you, both of you have spoken enough about GPA and how that doesn't matter. But in my case, so I have a low GPA during my engineering. I did my engineering, and during that time, I tried to pivot to finance because there were some open electives to see if I was interested in it. I did find my interest, but not my GPA. They were still low. So at the end of the day, then I pivoted into business analytics. What I have right now is I have international experience. I managed to work for 1 year in India and then moved to UAE, and then right now I'm working in Amsterdam. So this is my profile. My one, I haven't taken my GRE or GMAT yet, so that's still a surprise for me as to how it will turn out. But my question to you is, how do I mold this into a story?
Yeah. So okay. I mean, I think you will be able to answer this one better because you have been reviewing profiles a lot.
Yeah, I think let me know if I didn't understand you correctly. Are you asking you are having two different places and you are trying to see whether you can make it the story like cohesive?
True. So I started with a fairly simple IT related job, and then pivoted into business analytics, one in ride hailing, another one in classifieds, where I'm right now. So it's just that I know what I've done. I have an experience in everything, but what I cohesively don't understand is, see, I don't know what my goal is going to be if I do an MBA. Like, at least try to what I want is if you can explain me how you have come up to, like, when you are explaining to the admissions office that this is what I want to do with my MBA, or this was my story and this is how I'm pivoting towards something by after my MBA, this is what I want to do. So that's kind of where I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's not very unusual for people to move around different industry. Like you can do same industry, different function, same function, different industry. I mean, I think in the US it's much more tolerant to outlier than most of the other cultures. As for how you want to frame, I think first you want to know what you actually want to do, right? Like you need to figure out not just for MBA application purpose, like you need to figure out what you want to do. And I cannot tell you how you figure out your life. This is not something that I can do for you. But you can reverse engineer. Sometimes you can think about what kind of person you like, what kind of person you really admire, and in the industry where you want to see yourself in 5 to 10 years. And then after you figure everything that out in your own life, then you start figuring out where the MBA sits or where MBA fits into your journey. Like what MBA help you to reach your goal. So it's a step-by-step process. I think you really want to start figuring out what you want to do in 20, 30 years. And that's not something that I can tell you. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Srini. I hope that helps. All right. So I want to come back to one of the questions, and I think Akansha mentioned this early on about the buzzword holistic. And I wanted to understand, this word is often used in the B schools and admissions, by the admission experts. What does it really mean? And what do you think, one needs to do to really make their profile holistic? Whether it's handling
Sure.
your GPA or GRE or anything else, right? What is it? When somebody
So,
says you have to build a holistic profile, what does it mean?
right, yeah. So, what I feel is that first of all, candidates need to assess which school they want to be a part of, because holistic means different to different schools. So that is something that they need to figure out, because let's say Darden looks for maybe they are very much into DEI, like they want people to be like they want their cohort to be very diverse. They want they want their people to feel like they want to create a very equitable environment, so something like that. And Harvard is very much into, they want somebody who displays leadership potential. So people need to understand like while figuring out which program they want to be a part of, what is the key strengths of that program, and whether whether the key strengths like align with the qualities that I share, or that I aspire to be. So something like that. So they have to figure out. So as I said, holistic means different to different different colleges view it in a different way. So for me, Darden definitely wanted to see academic excellence, but this is a very uh, like open-ended word, because it could mean that you display excellence in terms of maybe you are performing very well in your job, even though you had a low GPA, but you had very good career, you had promotions, you have had leadership, maybe you have taken initiatives, even though it was at a very small scale. So this could show that, okay, the person who wants to be a part of my program has shown excellence in this way. Second, they, as I told, that they are very much into DEI, like diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you have been somebody who has maybe done something in your community, extracurriculars, maybe in college, so you could like bring up those experiences while talking about talking about the strengths of your application in the essays. So this is what I mean by holistic, because it just not means like you need to have a very strong GMAT, GRE, or you need to have a certain, like you need to be you need to cure cancer because that is what people feel, that if you are holistic, that if your GRE or GMAT is low, then you need to have something like you need to be an Olympic medalist or something, you must have cured cancer or something like that. So you don't need to do that. You just need to figure out things in your life, what you would have done, would you have done, or what the college is looking for, and then align your story along those lines. Anything that you'd like to add, Kui?
No, I think you answered very well. Yeah.
You are on mute. You are on mute, Ashwini.
I'm so sorry. So we have an applicant raising hand. I invite you to ask your question. If you can be on camera, it would be also nice.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. I can't be on camera right now. Good evening.
No,
Oh,
no,
hi.
go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Kwelumi. I'm calling from, or I'm joining in from Nigeria. And thank you so much for this session. It's been very insightful. So my profile, I believe I have a strong GPA, right? However, it's not in a STEM designated course. I'm from the humanities, academics, and so far I have done the MBA math. I have also I took some data analytics course in the course of my career. Currently work in marketing, right? And I've also tried to take the GRE, but my score is really low, and I'm considering now requesting for GRE waiver. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think I should take the GRE one more time, or I should just go ahead and tell my story and craft my essays? Because I hear you about the holistic view, because I believe that there are some parts of my profile that I can ride on as my strengths. Thank you.
Yeah, so retaking GRE doesn't hurt if it it could help you increase your score by a couple of points. It definitely you can. Given that you give GRE test is a bit expensive for us Indians, so if finances are not of constraint, you can definitely you should definitely retake it. And if you feel that even after retaking it, you feel that your scores aren't matching the class profile of the program that you're applying to, you can definitely opt for waiver. In fact, I have opted for a test waiver in UNC Ken Flagler just to see whether waivers play a huge role. It is my profile will be at a setback if I apply via waiver, and it does not, because they just want to see that whether you have the ability to handle the quantitative rigors that the program has to throw your way. So that's the only purpose of evaluating the test, asking for a test score. And for somebody who has been out of college or their academic setting for a long time, tests definitely help, but it is not the only way how you can highlight your strengths, especially in the quants background. So yeah, you can do that. That is what I would suggest. Anything that you'd like to add, Kui?
I think I just spoke with a candidate actually this morning about the waiver. I think we don't really know how admission committee is viewing waiver right now, because that policy started coming to being during COVID, and they just didn't cancel it. They probably don't feel the need to cancel it. I think they want to give more flexibility. I think in your case, I agree with Akanksha. I think it doesn't hurt for you to take again just for your own learning purposes, because you have to use like a lot of English skills. I'm assuming you're already using them a lot. I mean, it doesn't hurt for you to just be better at GRE, right? But then you can see whether you are good or not good, and then you decide whether you want to use the waiver or not. If you have good GPA, probably you can mitigate a little bit. But I think, to be honest, I don't think it's even possible for admission committee to say, oh, one students with like 750 GMAT, another one without GMAT, we view them equally. I think it's impossible. I really think it's impossible because someone just show that they do more work, right? I mean, then even though we say, oh yeah, the score doesn't matter, they want to get hardworking people. That's not to say that you are not hardworking. So that's just to say you have to work extra hard to just prove them that, hey, you know what? I'm smart, I work hard, I just don't have a GMAT and GRE. You should give me an offer. So I think my take-home message is I think no matter what school says, I still think having GMAT and GRE will be better. But that's not mean that it doesn't mean that having a waiver will put you in a significant disadvantage. There are definitely a lot of ways to get in without the scores.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Guri. Thank you, Akansha. All right. So before we take one last question, I just want to request our audience. There has been a feedback form shared in the chat box. If you guys just take a minute and share your input, it really helps us prepare for the next sessions, for the future sessions, and also helps the team focus on the right elements. Thank you if you're sharing your feedback. I see the hands going up by Nav. Go ahead, ask your questions since I don't see a lot of other questions in my chat box.
My question is, when Akansha was talking about the holistic part of the application, I also have a lot of volunteering work, which reminded me of this question, which is I have a lot of things going on at the same time. So while I was working a full-time job, I was also doing a full-time degree. Now I'm doing a full-time job, but I also have two businesses. Simultaneously, I have a lot of volunteering work at like an animal shelter and an NGO, which I want to ask if that is a red flag of me doing.
No. In fact, it's
This is a
very
green flag.
welcoming. Yeah, exactly. The greenest flag you can, because people struggle. We corporate people struggle to find volunteering experiences.
Oh, okay.
We have to date it back to our college extracurricular activities when we led our clubs to just, highlight that. So that is definitely, you should, that is one of the key strengths. You should play by it. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see it like that. Thank you. Okay.
The only thing I want to add is you probably just need some help like polishing, like organizing to grab some of the experience to make them a strong application. But you are definitely in a better position than most of candidates like myself who don't really know what we did.
Oh, come on. Yeah, come on. Don't be humble now. But thank you. Thank you.
All right. I hope that helps. Nav.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Ashwini.
I
All right.
saw last question. Sorry, Ashwin. There is a question in the chat box. I can answer it very quickly.
Yes,
I
please.
think the schools, if they want to find out, they can. But I don't think school will bother
No,
like whether
yeah.
they do GMAT. I don't think it's even possible. So
No.
I think don't worry too much.
Yeah.
So I would request both of you to maybe spend a minute more on this question, GRE versus GMAT. I know, Akansha, you have answered it already, but for people who may not have seen the chat box so far, if you can just address, what is preferred test format at this point of time, and what is the logic behind choosing one if somebody has not taken that already.
Okay. So speaking from my personal experience, I feel that there's no longer a difference. There was, for I think couple of years ago, there was this GMAT versus GRE where GMAT was preferred by B schools. But now, given that more and more test takers are applying with GRE, they have started, in fact, sharing the GRE scores as well, average scores in the class profile. So I don't think there's no longer a difference, and that is what the admissions committee that I've communicated with have also reiterated this. Now GMAT versus GRE, people should choose depending on the strengths that they have. If somebody feels that their quants, as I mentioned in the chat box as well, if somebody feels that their mathematical or quantitative ability is stronger compared to their verbal ability, I would suggest they go for GMAT. And if they feel somebody, so native speakers who have been talking in English, they definitely have an advantage in verbal, so I would suggest they should take GRE, or people who are very well in their verbal, they should take GRE, because in GRE the quantitative part is a bit easier compared to GMAT. And for GMAT, the verbal is a bit easier. So yeah.
Thank you, Akansha. I see one more question in the chat box, and we will take this quickly. Are schools like Darden and Tuck inclined towards candidates with 9 to 10 years experience?
So I think it depends on your experience. So for example, we do have a lot of veterans that are very old, and it doesn't matter. And then I think it's really about your story. Like if you are doing the same job for 10 years, no, they don't prefer you. But if you keep doing very interesting things, you show very strong trajectory, and that you are leading more and more people, I don't think working experiences should be deter you. The reason that you are seeing people like average work experience 5 to 6 years is just because people apply at that age. It doesn't mean that you cannot get in with 10-year experience. However, at the same time, you can also start thinking about whether you want to get an executive MBA instead of a 2-year MBA or 1-year MBA at Europe or Asia. That's something that you want to consider, but I don't think you should worry too much.
Yeah, yeah. And to add on that, so one thing that you need to justify is that why do you want to do an MBA at this point of your career? Like after spending 10 years, if you have that why figured out, I don't think there's a problem while applying to Darden or Tuck.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think my dad will benefit from MBA now. So
yeah. So guys, if you're okay, we have Ishita raising her hand. If we can take this one last question, guys, we will close after this. Ishita, go ahead if you're available, please.
Hi, hi. Thank you so much for still considering my question. I get it that it's almost the end of the session. So I think my question will be a little different than everyone else here because I'm a senior in college. I go to the University of Delhi and I'm hoping to apply to the definite MBA programs in the US. I took the GRE a few months ago in September to be more specific. I got an overall score of 323. I think my quant score was a bit low. It was 162 and verbal was 161. I've spoken to some people, even professionals and people who might have applied earlier, is that everyone keeps telling me that your GRE should be higher. However, I do think that my profile is strong as far as the experiences that I've had. I have some international internships. I did an internship in Singapore, and then I have worked a lot in social impact as well. So I think I've got my extracurriculars in order, and I love to write. I love to tell stories, so I may be able to do well in essays, but I'm not sure about the GRE because I think I'll retake it for all the deferred MBA programs except for Yale Silver Scholars because their round 2 deadline is in January. So I don't have the time to take it again since December are like final examinations. So I don't have the time for that. So just want to understand that I have been hearing all about like admissions procedure in this session, but yeah, I just want to understand if that applies for deferred MBAs as well, because everyone is like, your score should be really high if you want to get into a deferred MBA program.
Yeah, I think we will be able to answer this better because, yeah.
yeah, I think to be honest, I think you don't have to worry about MBA right now. I think if you can get into deferred MBA, that means you are super smart. That also means you might not really want to go to MBA in 2 to 3 years. So so in short answer, I don't think you want to worry about that. And then longer answer is yes. So the application process for deferred MBA and traditional MBA are very similar, but deferred MBA you just don't have work experience. That makes every other parts a little bit more important. And that's it. Basically, think about like pie chart.
Exactly.
20%,
Yeah.
and then you move one piece. You move one pizza, and then everything else become larger, make another circle.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
you.
that's true.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about that. Like you don't. I mean, do you need an MBA now? You don't. So it's something that I think you should start considering in 1 or 2 years.
Sure, sure. That sounds good. If anyone else has any inputs, I'll be more than happy to hear that. But again, thank you so much for answering my question. This really helps.
Sure.
Thank you, Shita. Thank you, everyone. I think I hope this was a helpful session for all of you, and I really want to thank you, Akansha and Kui, for taking out time today and sharing your insights and sharing experiences. I think I learned a lot. I hope everybody else learned as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night. Take care.
Thank you for having me. Bye.